Hello and welcome back to Mieto Gaming. Apologies for my last video. I think it was only recording like half of the screen or something like that, but I believe we have that fixed this time around. I'll double check this video before uploading it just to make sure that I have that under control. So last time, if you haven't watched the video or just couldn't make it all the way through with only half of the screen, that was essentially just an account overview, discussing my priorities, how I was approaching those priorities, sort of my plan to attack those priorities, what my next priorities were, um, how I differentiated those next priorities, and how I planned on attacking them. So essentially, it was, right now, just a quick overview. Um, my priority was faction wars normal. And so that's how I was building all my champs. And I was essentially using the fusion schedule to build my roster up to be able to attack and finish all of my faction wars for normal. And then next, I'll be focusing on developing teams for clan bosses, um, Amius and Cursed City, uh, as well as the dungeons, right? So I'll develop teams to specifically attack Ice Golem, Spider's Den, etc. But for now, I've been focused really on building my champs for faction wars and ensuring that they were geared appropriately for that. And so that's kind of been my approach thus far. Today, what I want to do, technically it's the same day for me on the recording side of things, but I'll be uploading the videos on different days. But today I actually want to take a look at my roster and review the champs that I have available. Now, again, for those who don't recall, this is not a free-to-play account, so there are a few mythicals and things of that nature on the account. I'm pretty happy, again, with where my roster currently sits. I do need to build up some of my champions a bit more. I need to get the right gear sets on them. Um, Improve those gear sets. Like in some cases, I might have the right gear set, but maybe it's not the best pieces. Right? Maybe the defense percent didn't hit high enough for a certain champion, or a certain piece just I didn't get speed hits on it, or something along those lines, right? Um, and then there's also just team composition, which is sort of the next step in what I'm building. So first, it was developing, getting champions on the roster that I want, getting them in the right gear sets, things of that nature. And then the next step is, of course, improving the gear in those gear sets, getting better hits on gear by getting new pieces and growing those pieces up and hoping to get the right hits on them, as well as learning and developing team compositions for certain specific content in the game. But I will go through this faction by faction. Again, my focus right now has been on faction wars, and so I will go through faction by faction instead of just looking at the broad roster. I'll just go in the order that is presented here. Starting with Banner Lords. So the Banner Lords is actually a pretty good roster, and I think for a lot of these factions, you'll hear me say similarly that I'm really happy with the champions that I have. In many cases, I have quite a few legendaries, and in some cases, mythicals as well. But here, I'm pretty happy with the champions that I have. I'm extremely happy with Cecilia. So she is a brand new unlock for me. I just unlocked her a couple days ago. She was literally, I think, I have to go back through it and check, but she was, if she wasn't my most wanted legendary champ, she was, in my top 5 most wanted legendary champs. I'll have to go back through it and see for sure, but where she landed, but she was definitely towards the top of that list. So I was very excited when I got her on the 2x. I pulled on the day, I think it was Bayek was the 10x, or yeah, I think it was the 10 or 15x or whatever he was. But it was 2x uh, legendary chances on the voids, and so I pulled voids and I ended up getting her, and that was perfect. So very excited about that. I haven't built her up yet. Essentially, and I did beat Banner Lord's faction crypt on normal, so I'm finished with that. And essentially, my team there was Deltus, Minaya, Mikey, Titus, and Ursula. Now, the reason why that is, like, I have some of these legendaries, that might not be built up all the way. Some of that is just for timing, right? Like, I just unlocked Cecilia, so she's not built up. Timid, and Sigmund came along a little bit later in the cycle when I was already pretty far along in faction wars, and they didn't quite have, same with Cillian, they didn't quite have the skills that I needed and I was looking for. I felt like what I was needing here to kind of push me over the hump and beat the final boss for faction wars. I felt like I needed a reviver, and I had that in Ursula. And at the time I didn't have any legendary. Like I don't think, actually looking at it, I don't think I have any legendary now that has a revive. But it was a skill that I needed to push me over the hump, and so in that case, some of these other champions just didn't get built for faction wars. Now I believe Timid and Cillian and Sigmund, they might be level 50 anyways, so I probably just threw them into like the auto leveler and just had them level up on the sidelines. Um, but that's kind of been the approach. That was the team that I used. I think for here, really the MVP for me has been Mikey, honestly. Titus has come through a couple of times as well, but I think Mikey has sort of been MVP for Faction Wars normal for me. Of course, going forward, that will probably change to Cecilia. Um, but Mikey was kind of holding it down for quite a bit of Faction Wars progress. And once we had sort of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collab, and I unlocked Mikey, that's actually when I was able to push further and further into Bannerlords. Eventually, sadly, realizing I needed a reviver, building up Ursula to level 50. I didn't bring it to 6 stars, but I got it to level 50. That was good enough. And I was able to beat the Faction Wars script for Bannerlords. Going forward, how do I feel about my strength in this faction? I'm actually pretty happy with it, especially now that I got Cecilia. I am extremely happy with where I currently sit with this faction. Are there more champs that I would love to have? Yes, Taras and Marichka and a couple others, of course, would be great. I do think, as far as which specific champs I want, I'm hoping to get going forward. I don't know if I'll take the time in this specific video to do that, or maybe I'll make that a separate video. Just kind of stay on topic and on point. But there are additional champions, legendary and mythical, that I would like in this faction, and that'll probably be the case for most factions. But just how I feel about my current roster in this faction, I feel pretty good with it. I'm excited for moving on to Faction Wars Hard. Once I finish normal for all of the factions, I will be moving directly into Faction Wars Hard. I think at that point, I won't be as focused on Faction Wars as I currently am. I think my priority will shift to building teams for other content in the game. Some of the clan bosses and some of the dungeons and things like that. I'll focus a bit more on there because I'm not going to finish Faction Wars Hard for quite some time. But I am still excited for Faction Wars Hard, and I think, as far as like how I feel about my current roster here, I'm excited to see what they would be able to do there. Moving on to High Elves. So High Elves have quite a few legendaries here as well. I honestly wasn't able to complete their crypt until I got Arbiter, and that was a few months ago. So once I got Arbiter, I was able to push this over the hill and complete it. But prior to that, my team was Leneral, Royal Huntsman, Yannicka, Prisma, and what was my other? Probably Elaine. I think it was Elaine. Was sort of my fifth champ for quite some time. I didn't have any epics that I brought all the way up or anything like that. I just hadn't focused on this faction at that point to do so. And then before I even thought about doing that, I got Arbiter. And then some point after Arbiter, I got Ethos. But you know, I have no intention of really building him up. I don't know that I would need him for anything. He does have a couple of AoEs, which I guess is always good. Not reviewed the best. But yeah, just looking at some of what he brings to the table, I'm not sure that I necessarily would need it, at least for faction wars, and judging by his ratings, probably not for any other stuff either. So we're probably not going to rush to build them up. At some point, I'll build up all the champs that I got. I think at some point. Um, but we were able to complete the script. As far as how I feel going forward, I do feel like I'm probably missing something. Um, Probably missing a bit more damage. Honestly, I think Eleanor probably my biggest damage dealer. Yannika's got some EOEs and things. She was I recall her doing okay. It's been, I guess, been a little bit since I've defeated this faction crypt. But I think, a lot of my damage come from a Lenarol. I think this guy had a stun, if I remember correctly, on his A1, which was extremely helpful, but I think that was the most important thing, was that, and the revive would come in handy as well, but there's only one ally. So mostly, that revive was mostly just used if Arbiter died. Um, Eventually, once I got Arbiter, that's kind of where the focus was, because he became my reviver. But yeah, I feel like I could use some more damage here. And then similar to other content in the game, do I have a damage dealer currently already on my roster that I can build up? Maybe, maybe. Right? Like this person's pretty new. I don't really know too much about him. I literally just got him at the same time I got Cecilia. With some of these 2Xs. I mean, he's an epic, so he wasn't really part of the 2X legendary event necessarily, but he came from those same pulls. Oh, well, that's great. 4.9. Um, but is he kind of a damage dealer that I can use? Maybe. I see he's got this AoE who blocks active skills, potential for true fear. Got some survivability with being able to place his shield on himself, increase some of his own stats here, critical damage and accuracy and all that. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the damage dealer I'm looking for. I'll kind of go through the epics. I'll check out some videos, see um, what's out there as far as like some of the epics that are useful. But I definitely feel, as far as like with the team that I brought through Faction Wars Normal, I did feel like they're missing something. So I am I'm going to review, legendaries and all that, just kind of see who's my most wanted. I can't say priority because it's not like I can choose who I'm gonna unlock from some of the shards. Although you can make some choices on some of the 10 and 15x, and you could also choose when to pull if they're on a special or anything like that. But still, it's up to chance. It's kind of random. So it's gonna be more of a most wanted list, less of a you know a plan or a strategy on who to get. But I will take a look at them, kind of put together most wanted list on who I think I want or need. But I do think I need some more damage coming out of the high elves. Think about Sacred Order. So this is the first mythical as far as in this video. It's not the first mythical I had. I do have quite a few mythicals. So there were three 2x primal events since I joined. One happened within like the first couple. I think like it was either the first week or second week that I was actually playing the game, and so I went kind of nuts and I spent a bit on primal shards, and I had ridiculously good luck. Like that first time, like I spent a few hundred, but it wasn't like crazy amounts. Right, it was just like a few hundred. I had like 60 primal shards, or I think it was like 60 shards, and I pulled four mythicals out of those 60. It was insane. Like four mythicals out of 60 shards. I don't know for sure, but I don't think that's normal. Um, so once that happened, that's actually what opened the gates for spending for me. And that's when I decided I wasn't gonna be a free to play player, right? When they had that 2x primal pretty early on. But once that happened, I was like, hey, maybe I should try these 2x more often. And then they've had two more 2x primals since then. Very recently, around the holidays, and then again in January. It's now the middle of February, so about a month ago was the last one, and maybe 3 weeks prior to that was the one before. So out of those, it was kind of the same. I got even more shards, so I think I pulled about 100 shards during the second event, and I ended up with four again, which 100 shards is definitely more than 60. Um, but still, I feel like that's like really good luck to get four out of 100. I haven't done the math to figure out, what's the expected amount out of 100 pulls for mythicals, but four still seems like a lot. Um, so, at that point, I was like, oh man, like this luck is crazy. I'll never run out. And so when the third one came around, I got even more. I had like 120 shards or something like that. And sadly that time I only pulled three, which maybe that's still good luck. I don't know. But it was obvious to me at that point, like, oh yeah, my luck is going down. You pull four out of 60, and you pull four out of 100, then you pull three out of 120, or whatever it was. It's like, okay, this is getting worse and worse for me. But so I do have a few mythicals. That's kind of the point of that rant. But this is the first one we're seeing in this video. And he has probably been my MVP thus far from this faction during faction wars. I do think I'm going to get a lot of great things out of Wixwell going forward. I think he's probably going to be part of some of my clan boss teams, and boss content in general. I hear good things about him and Titus. So once I kind of build them up to work to function together well, I think they're going to do a lot of good things for my account. So I'm really excited about seeing what he's going to do outside of faction wars. But just for faction wars itself, my team that I finished with, I didn't have them all the way through, but the ones that I finally completed the faction crypt with was Frigmund, Sigfrind. I was way off with that. Sigfrind, Corvus, Astralon, April, and works well. I don't know how I passed right over them like that. But that was the team that I had finally completed it with. And outside of Siegfried, I would actually say April was my MVP outside of him. Um, I feel like a lot of people don't like her. Yeah, you look at her faction wars here, it's 3.5. But I loved her. I thought she was amazing. You look here at, I think I have her booked. I don't know for sure, but I think I do. So if that's the case, that's 75% chance of placing one of these debuffs. It's pretty good, and I think I hit on them quite often, and these are like really good ones, right? Pretty much pulls them out of their next turn. I think every single one of these pretty much pulls them out of their next turn, or at least gives a shot at playing them out of their next turn, like Fear. They may or may not take that turn. Sleep, as long as you don't hit them again, they're gonna miss that next turn. So that was her huge, and that's on her A1. That was huge for crowd control. This was also huge for crowd control. Um, Somewhere in here, yeah. So 75% chance. Does that go up? Yeah, it goes up 25%. So 100% chance of um, stealing 100% of the target's current turn meter. Or, I'm sorry, what? That's buff debuff. So maybe that's 100% chance of players can nullify the debuff. And just this remains at 35%, perhaps. Um, but regardless, I felt like it was 100% where she was stealing their turn meter. Was doing a phenomenal job there, stripping them of buffs, which was huge. Like she was just coming in handy left and right for me. And similar to Banner Lords, once they had the TMNT event and I got April, like my Sacred Order was able to start pushing much further. I couldn't complete it until I got Siegfried, and he really came through for me on those last few battles to finish it up. But April is kind of really what would help me push much further into Sacred Order. And this was, I didn't have Wixwell at the time. I didn't have Siegfried. There's quite a few of these characters I just didn't have at the time. April was holding it down for me thanks to her crowd control, and this kind of helps increase her accuracy as well. So there's a lot there I really liked about her. I don't understand some of the hate she's getting. Why is she so low? Particularly for that. I mean, maybe in other content, right? Like I haven't really spent a ton of time. Um, I mean, I spent time playing the rest of the content, but I haven't spent a lot of time, building and focused on building and developing teams for a lot of this content. Just I'll play it for fun, but I'm not really focused on, okay, let me get my Fire Knight team together, etc. So maybe she's not so great in some of those other areas. But I feel like Faction Wars, she was like incredible for me there. So I don't know, maybe that's comparing her to other characters who are better, other champs, but I loved her for that. Um, I feel like Corvus on the other hand, yeah, 4.9. I feel like Corvus on the other hand, and I might not have him fully booked, so that might be why as well. But I did feel like he wasn't doing as much for me outside of just, doing some damage. I mean, poisons are nice, I guess. Yeah, poisons are nice. Um, yeah, but I don't know. That was for me. I loved having April on my team, and Siegfried, of course, held it down and gave me that final push to get through. And Wixwell is probably who I'm most looking forward to using outside of faction first. But going forward, just thinking about where this faction currently sits, and again, thinking more specifically about faction wars, even though I'm going to be using these characters elsewhere, thinking more about faction based content. So within the realm of only being able to use this faction, I do feel like similar to my high elves, I would maybe like some more damage output from this team. Um, I mean, Siegfried kind of was doing some good there, and Corvus helped, but I wasn't too thrilled with Astralon. Oh, he's actually rated pretty good there. I wasn't too thrilled with him though. Maybe I just don't have him geared up properly. But I felt like there wasn't a lot of benefit there. Wixwell I'm happy with, but he's not really he's not doing a ton of damage. Oh, whoa, what is this? Not doing a ton of damage there. Some of these other champs, I didn't have them in time to utilize them. Like Cupidus and Ezio are both new. Murder I had, she's fine. I didn't really use her much towards the end, but she definitely came in handy earlier. Um, so maybe this is what I need. Oh yeah, actually looks like he's got a couple of AoEs. And he's attack based. HP burn. Yeah, his HP burn. Then this is doing the same. Also has a chance to have an HP burn. Yeah, so he might be what I need as far as like ensuring the damage output is increased. Ezio's got some poisons and things. So I may have the champs needed going forward as I push into hard mode. So we'll see. Barbarians. I think this was the very first faction wars normal I beat. Literally, as soon as I got Armands, it was over. Like, nothing in faction wars could stop me anymore once I had Armands. So it was like Armands and Tuhanarak, Freya, Turvold, maybe Raf. Did I have Raf yet? I'm not sure if I had Raf yet at the time I beat Barbarians. Like Barbarians faction war was the first one I beat, and it was fairly early on. Like I got Armands, and it was just over. Like that was the end of it. I don't even know who my fifth was, to be honest. It could have been anybody. Maybe I didn't even have a fifth. It was just over. Like Armands just like killed everything for me, or he just like stun locked everything. So, um, some of my other characters, and they weren't really damage dealers. Like Freya and Tuanarek are not necessarily damage dealers, right? But when everything is stun locked, you could just beat them until they eventually fall. Right? Turvold, I think, was a damage dealer, but he wasn't very well geared. Going forward, I'm pretty excited for this faction. Um, both outside of faction wars, Armand's is huge in arena for me. And now I have Syl, who's got revive that might be useful in some content. I think for faction wars as well. I did not initially have her. I did build her up to 60 now, just for champion training events. I would bring a few characters, a few champions to 6-star, whether or not I necessarily needed them. I'm just using them for the points in champ training. So I did build her up to 60 eventually. I just didn't have her around for completing this faction wars. I use them. I use her now when I'm just like farming it or whatever. But I think just as I move into faction wars hard, pretty excited about this faction and what they're going to be doing there. I got Raph now as well for some additional damage. And so I feel like, there's a lot of things I'll be able to do. I have revives now. I have more damage now. There's a lot of additional things that I can do in this faction I couldn't do before. And they kind of breeze through normal mode fairly easily before I had that stuff. So I'm actually excited to use them now. Ogren tribes. So I think this is the First one we got, yes, this is the first one we got to that I haven't completed yet. So I am at the final boss stage 21, and I do have three legendaries. Um, I don't have them fully booked. I have them geared, and the gear is decent. I think I geared most of them relatively recently, so I was able to use like Hella Hades to see what it is that they needed, what kind of gear they needed, and all of that. Um, because for a while I had no legendaries there, so they're not super new, but they are somewhat relatively recent. Maybe around the holidays or something is when I started getting them. So my team at the moment, these three, um, Ugo, and yeah, it's down here, Bellower. Right, there he is. Yeah, just my current team at the moment. Is that enough to kind of push me through stage 21? Well, it hasn't been so far, but again, not everyone is booked. Some of my legendaries aren't fully booked. I think Cross is fully booked. Biggin, I don't believe Biggin is at least partially booked. I don't know if he's fully booked though. Ignatius, I know for sure isn't fully booked. So that's probably gonna be helpful. Ugo is not, like you use what you got to use, right? He's I like him, like he's or her. I don't actually know. I guess her. Um, but I feel like this revive isn't the greatest ever, right? Like all the allies have to be dead before she revives them. So I feel like that's kind of the issue right now. Is a lot of times like I can't revive. Like once one person dies, my team starts falling apart, but I can't revive them. Like I have to wait and wait and wait, and then by the time everyone dies, I can't get the revive off in time. Or if I'm able to revive everyone, she's got like no health left at that moment, and so then she just gets one shot, and then it's over because like I have no one to revive her. So it's not the best revive ever. I'll take a look and go through some of these other epics and rares and see if there's anyone maybe that's like a full team revive. I'm sure there's a legendary that's got a full team revive, but whoever it is, I don't have them, so I can't really rely on them. I really want this guy. But again, I'm not gonna get into who I'd like right now. This is more what's currently on my roster and how I feel about it going forward. So I don't know if I currently have built up enough to get past stage 21. Maybe if I book these guys, if I fully book them, that might be all I need. Ugo is fully booked, Cross is fully booked, and Bellower is fully booked. But in Bellower, so here was my approach to get to stage 21, right? Everyone is stunning, and Bellower's got all AoEs. So that was the big thing, right? I put him in stun gear, and just everything is just getting a chance to stun. Ugo, does Ugo have a stun? No. Okay. Um, but Cross does on his A1. The chance to stun, it's not the highest chance, but I think it goes up to 50. There's a shot there. I believe Biggin has a stun somewhere. This, yeah. So he has a chance to stun, and this is an AOE. Um, and then Ignatius, I don't think he's stun. Oh, yeah, he does have a chance to stun, but he's also got like a provoke and like an HP burn and stuff. So I actually really liked this team, and I was having a lot of fun with them because they're just like, you know, maybe not stun locking everyone the same way Armand's does, but together, with the stun gear on Bellower with all of his AoEs, Cross having that A1, Biggin and Ignatius both having a potential opportunity for stun, even if it's on the lower end. There's a lot of stunning going on. So I had fun using this team. It's just that you can't stun the boss, right? If there's no way to stun the boss, you can't really use that against him. Um, and so I can't remember how I got through with the barbarians because Armand's was stun locking everything, and so when I got to the boss, I couldn't stun him. I don't recall how I got around that. But in this case, I'm struggling to get around it. Right, I can't stun the boss, so I can't really depend on that. And Ugo can't really revive anyone until everyone dies. So that's kind of the problem I'm running into. When my first person goes down, I'm pretty much done because I can't revive them. And so little by little, people are dying. And once everyone's dead, even if Ugo is still alive, she's got like one health. So I can revive everyone, but then she's gonna immediately die, and then that's that, right? Even if I did beat it, which I haven't beat it yet at all, even if I did beat it at that point, it's gonna be for 1 star. And so that's where my problem lies. I'll have to continue looking at who's currently on my roster and trying to decide if I need to build up a different champ. As much fun as I had with these guys with the stuns, it's not doing it for this final boss. So maybe book these guys up and see if that helps. But I think I need more. For Lizardmen, I did complete Lizardmen. Got quite a few legendaries. Some of these legendaries fairly new. Predator is fairly new. Um, Donnie came in with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But Donnie's been a part of my team now for quite some time. Like, Team NT was a while ago, I guess. But this team was mostly heals. And I have a lot of double, um, double champs. I have two Amox, two Donnies. Do I have two Pythians? I might have two Pythians. But there's like a lot of healing going on, right? So I had Teox, I had two Donnies, two Amox. I don't think I was actually using two Donnies though. But for a while, it was like a Donnie, two Amox, and like a Pythian, and then I got Razin, or however you say his name. He replaced one of the Amox. But there's just so much healing. And that was my approach to get through, was just heal, 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 um, and just outlive everyone and everything because I was healing so much. But now, at some point, I needed to start doing more stuff, more damage, and so Predator came along, and I think that kind of helped me get over the hump for beating the final boss. But going forward, I don't think that approach is going to work anymore. In hard mode. And so I do think I'm going to need to um, go through my epics and see who to build up here. So I do think I'm going to work on Venom H. And I built him up a little bit, but I haven't built him up all the way. I think he's going to be one. I'll probably look at a couple other epics as well. I think, like his poison stuff and stuff are really going to help me defeat um, more content once I get to Faction Wars hard. So that's my thought process there. I'm going to have to see how that goes. I might just be, I might just not have the champs needed to make it through Faction Wars hard. But at the moment, I think there's a lot of heals here. There's some good utility coming through with some of these other characters. And Tax, of course, is the faction leader. So that's extremely helpful. So I think I'll be able to do some good stuff going forward, but I do think I need to build up additional champs. Skinwalkers. So I have not completed Skinwalkers yet, which sounds crazy because I have two mythicals here. Although I don't know how, yeah, not rated very highly. I don't know. Also not, well, 4. I guess that's okay. But, you know, this is literally my team right now. It's the 5 that you can see right here, right? And I gotta say, my MVP thus far has been Sun Wukong. The rest of these guys, I haven't had Gallius for very long. Mesomel is one of the first mythicals I got. She was in that first batch of 4 that I got. Gallius was in this last batch of 3 that I got. He was the very last one that I got. So he is my newest mythical. And I feel like, I'm close to beating Faction Wars normal. So I did just go through and re-gear Brachus. I think that's going to be very helpful. But I find the thing that's kind of holding me back here is my lack of healing. Uko is a reviver, but he doesn't have a heal. And so, the revive is great because it's a full team revive, and I don't have to wait for everyone to die to use it. I could revive one at a time if I wanted to, or 2 or 3 or whatever. So I like his revive, but he's not a healer. He has like no heals, and so that kind of makes things difficult. Just kind of keep things going right. I can keep reviving as someone dies, but I can't heal them up. So somebody dies, revive. I have to wait for the revive to come back, and then eventually Uko himself is gonna get killed because I can't heal him. So I guess I can redo his gear. I can re-gear him to, um, put him in some gear that will heal him. You know, through the gear itself. I can't quite think of the name of the gear set, but I know there's a gear set that heals every turn. So maybe that's what I need to do. Just put him in some self healing gear, so that way he can just stick around and make sure he's reviving everyone. But what I've done so far is I just focus on re gearing Brackus to increase his damage output, and hopefully that will help a little bit. I don't know if it'll be enough to push me over the edge, but I think it'll help. Going forward, I think I need some additional help here with the skinwalkers. I do know like Flesh Tear is, you know, a healer, so I have started working on him a bit just in case I need to bring him up to the big leagues. Um, what is this? Talk. Okay. In case I need to bring him up to the big leagues for his heal. I started working on him. But I also just need to think through team composition for what I need to bring these guys through faction wars hard. Now Marius is a, you know, I guess we could call it guaranteed champ. I mean, I guess it's not guaranteed. You actually have to do the work to get him. But like he is there, like you don't have to. It's not up to chance on whether or not you're gonna pull him. So at some point, you know, I'll be able to get him, and that'll help me get through faction wars hard. It won't help me, of course, through normal. I hopefully I'll be done with normal before I get to him. Um, Same with Cleopatra X. Plus, I don't know how good she's gonna be, anyways. Um, but I don't expect any more help coming through for normal as far as like additional additions to the roster. I expect that. I do think I'm just gonna take a look at the epics. Probably Flesh Terror, possibly another damage dealer, right? If Brackus doesn't hold up his end of this right now, Sun Wukong is sort of my damage dealer. Mezomil, I don't know about her. Mostly what I do with her right now is I hope she stuns something. I put her in some stun gear. Then I use this A1. This one is pretty decent. Her A2 is pretty decent in this form. The True Fair goes through unkillable and block damage. But like, no, her A1 doesn't really do much damage or anything. So I just put her in a stun set and I just hope for the best. I hope she just stuns someone every time I spam that move, that A1. But that's really all she. That's her whole thing is just, you know, hope for stuns from the A1. That's her role. Um, Gallius again, he's new, so I don't really have a role figured out for him yet. Um, okay, for a second I thought he destroyed HP, but he restores it. The provoke comes in handy. Um, but yeah, I think, you know, ultimately, um, I may need to pull somebody up to the big leagues for my epics, just to kind of push this one over the hump, whether that's Flesh Terror or someone else. But I'll figure that out. I'm still gonna do some more retooling with the gear beyond Brackus and kind of push that one over the hump. But I do think I'm gonna need help going forward as I move into Faction Wars Hard. I'm gonna try to speed this up because I think I've been going on here for, you know, yeah, almost 40 minutes. So I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. I'm like halfway through the factions. For the orcs, I have a lot of champions, and I'm actually pretty happy with the ones that I have. So Bells is actually the first one I pulled, and I don't know if I was just gearing him wrong or what. I've heard good things about. Yeah, here too. You know, I've heard good things about him in like videos and things. It looks like the reviews are really good. So I don't know if I was just misusing him or whatever, but he kind of sucked when I was using him. So I could have been misgearing him because he was like one of my very first legendaries, like one of my very first. I think I had, you know, we'll get to her later, but I had one from like the Undead faction. I think it was Undead. I had several from Undead faction, and then I had Bills. Um, you know, I was highly disappointed, but at the time I might not know how to gear, and so I might not have known I needed to put him in HP gear or something like that, right? Maybe I put him in all attack or something. I don't know. But my team at the end was Ashnar, who was my very first mythical. Got him in that first 4 batch, but he was the first one I got. Artak, Krokod, Shayak. I don't know if Shayak was in it. Maybe Shayak. Tagore for sure. Tagore. And then maybe Shaq. I think Shaq was the fifth one. Kind of looking through. I think that was sort of the team I went with. And there's a few legendaries here that I just didn't have with me that came along a little bit later. Um, and they didn't really have anything that was gonna. Ooh, that's terrible. But they didn't really have anything. Just kind of looking without even looking at the reviews, like they just didn't have anything that was gonna be useful. You know, they needed heals and things, and that's where Tagore comes into play. Tila has some HP burns, which is cool. And I think I did 6 star. I think she might be level 60. She's got some HP burns, which is nice, but I was already getting that from some others like Artak and Ashnar. Um, and for I guess you can only get two on characters. I don't know that you get more than that. So she just wasn't doing much good for me. So I removed her. Shaq, I actually don't think is the greatest character ever, but he teams well with Krokod. So that's kind of why I had him in there. And Tagore, I just needed the heals and the revives. And so I was able to get through with that. Going forward, I kind of like this team a little bit. I don't think they would be able to handle faction wars hard on their own. I think I might need a bit more. Like what I'm thinking about Shayak, for example. For example, is probably one I would want to replace as Shayak. I think Tagore, I think he's fine as a healer and reviver. I think he's kind of good there. Artak, I like his HP burns and stuff. Who's better between him or Tila? I don't know, but with the HP burns from Ashnar, I would only need one of them. I think Krokot is pretty nice. Bells, I have to take a look at. Bells might replace Shayak. Not sure, but I do think I need a little bit more there. I need somebody to kind of replace Shayak, and then I would be kind of happy with this team moving forward. Demon Spawn. So I did beat Demon Spawn. Not 100% sure how. Um, well, you know what? They're all legendaries, so I guess that's how, right? I got the 5 legendaries, so that's probably how I was able to beat it. But I did feel underwhelmed by a couple of these, like Countess Licks and Fruit Troxa. I felt pretty underwhelmed by them. Um, yeah, it's probably accurate there. Oh, she's actually rated pretty good, but I felt kind of underwhelmed by her. I didn't really see anything that I felt like it was all. I mean, this looks pretty good, right? The black active skills on AoE sounds pretty decent. Increased speed is also nice, but very low percent chance of doing it. Yeah, I just wasn't overly impressed with them. Krakos I like. Jackstar is fine. I like his provoke, and he's got HP burn as well. Preva was like MVP for me. Her heals and her revives. And that's only single ally revive. I didn't even realize that. Um, I'm sure I noticed while I was playing because he was only reviving 1% at a time, so that was probably frustrating. But I didn't actually remember that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, looks like a lot of people feel similarly. She was definitely MVP for me. Um, just kind of keep my team alive, and I think that's kind of what pushed me over the edge for this group. Going forward, though, I do kind of want something else. Countess Licks and Crew Tracks. I don't care what people say about her about Countess Licks. I'm not too happy with her. So I would want to replace those two going forward. I'll take a look. There might be something in my epics that I can, call up to the big leagues. But there are also some other champs here that I would really like to get. So I'll probably take a look at my most wanted list and develop a video for that as well. Undead Hordes, not done with this one yet, but I think it's just going to take some regearing and some retooling. Some of my legendaries from this group are old, like Elegas might have been my very first legendary. Outside of the ones I started with. I started with Eleanor and Donarok. But she might have been the first one I pulled, I believe. And so I actually have two of her, or him. I don't know what the hell it is, to be honest. There, I don't know. It might be a him, but pulled Legias and Harvest Jack were like two of my very first legendaries. And personally, I was not. Yeah, I think he's even worse than 2.9. I think he or she is even worse than 2.5. I think they're awful. I was not enjoying them at all. And I think at this point, I think I have a pretty strong team with Calamitous, Ultimate Death Knight, Maria, Necrit, and Gaspard. I actually have two Volcanins as well, but I'm not too thrilled with him. What? I actually really like Maria. 3.2. You know, she could like get rid of a lot of buffs. She like strips buff from the entire team. It says attacks one enemy, but yeah, but removes buffs from all enemies. So like that comes in handy. This is a pretty hard hitter. Um, this hits really nicely. And then this, I'm constantly getting more turns from this. It says 33% chance. That feels like a 100% chance. I don't know. Um, it's so I mean, kind of like April, I guess, right? Well, actually, there's some things about April that I think I like even more. I feel like she's even better for crowd control. But this like team wide buff removal is nice, and then this extra turn. Like I feel like there's a lot of utility there that I actually enjoy quite a bit with Maria. Um, Calamitous is probably my MVP just for the simple fact that he's a mythical. He's my biggest damage dealer by quite a bit. Gaspard and Necrit, I'm a little disappointed with. Wow, 4.9. Clearly, I don't know what I'm doing with this guy. He might not be fully booked either, right? That might be something I have to do on the next champ, uh, not champ chase, whatever the other thing is called. Um, Oh, they're having a party outside right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that honking, but there's like a lot going on right now. But like, yeah, I don't know. I was kind of disappointed in this guy. Maybe I need to learn how to use him a bit more, or maybe I just need to book him. Same with Necrit. I do feel like, wow, 4.8 and 4.9. That's I did not see that coming. Maybe I need to read through their kit a bit more, figure out what they do exactly. I was not impressed, or maybe I need to. He might not be booked either. That could be another thing, right? They're just not booked. Which I'll have to when I next time the champ training comes around, I might book them. Um, but yeah, I was kind of ooh, I didn't even know she was here. Isn't she a elf? That Elaine was like a dark elf or something, or some a high elf or dark elf. Yeah, high elf. I don't know why she's here. I think seven destroys target's max HP. Does not have a freeze. I guess she can or somebody freezes her. Okay. She removes the freeze. Okay. I don't know how beneficial that'll be. I don't know much get frozen in faction wars. But I do like this. Destroy the target's max HP. I'm assuming that works on bosses. Maybe it's not 30% the boss. But I'm assuming you can still destroy max HP on the boss, right? If so, I'm gonna have to look into that. But if so, she's she's replacing somebody. I don't know if it's Necrit or Gaspard, but she's replacing somebody. And I'll probably grab someone else from Epics too and bring them up. Dark Aethel. This no, I guess she's not an elf. I can see her ears. But anyways, yeah, so I'll probably bring up Dark Elaine. Actually, that might push me over the edge to get past Faction Wars normal. Speaking of elves, here we are. So Ephitus and Calamitous, Ephitus and Calamitous as well came in my second batch of mythicals from the second batch. I got 4 in the first batch, 4 in the second batch, and 3 in the third batch. Both those came from my second batch of mythicals. I haven't beaten this one yet. I just got Mithrala though, so I'm basically done with it now. Once I build up Mithrala and put her in there, then it's over. But I get Vizix very soon as well. Naldua. I mean, I'll be done by the time I get them. But pretty much set with Dark Elves, and I'm very happy with them going forward as well. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on these factions. It's probably already 6 hours long or something. yeah, almost an hour. So not gonna spend too much time, but I am happy with this faction going forward. I have a few more that are gonna be coming online, and then once I beat normal, I'll have Lydia too. I think I'm kind of good here going forward. There might be a few epics that I can use, but ultimately, I think I'm gonna have everything I need to start pushing hard once I open up hard mode. How far I'll get, am I gonna beat it? All that I don't know, but I think I have what I need to start pushing it. Knights Revenant. This might be my worst faction. The one I'm furthest from actually completing. So I do have Estofus and Drang from Legendaries. They are currently in my team that I'm using, as well as Miscreated Monster, who is probably my MVP. Rector Drath. Maybe Rector Drath. I really like him as a healer and reviver. I think he's really good there. Um, and then Whisper is actually my fifth. Why Whisper? I think because I had like four, 4 star, 4 or 5 star soul, so I just brought her up for that. But she's been holding it down. Been doing yeah, 4.9. I don't know if I wouldn't rate her as a 4.9 to be honest with you. But she's been doing okay. Right? She's been like a 3.8 or a 4 or something. She's been. I don't think she has any AOE's or anything. I think it's all single target attack. I don't. She doesn't do anything all that crazy. She's got some weekend, which is nice. Right? But decreased defense, I guess, is nice. But nothing too crazy. So I don't know why she's a 4.9. But it's kind of what my team is. Going forward, I don't know that I have everything I need to beat normal, right? At least built up, right? When I think about those 5 champs, I feel like these guys might need to be booked a bit more. I can't. I don't know if they're fully booked. I'm sure I at least partially booked them. But they might need to be booked further. But I don't know that that's gonna be that. All my epics on this have been for that I'm using, like Miscreated Monster, Rected Draft, Whisper. All 3 of them have been booked up. They're geared and ready to go and everything. And I gotta tell you, I actually like my epics here more than I like my legendaries by quite a bit. Especially Miscreated Monster, and Rected Draft. Whisper, I think she's replaceable. I don't think she's 4.9. She's fine, like she's doing some damage and stuff, but she's not doing anything crazy. So I think she's replaceable. Drang, I actually kind of like Drang. I think I would put him above Whisper, but by Starface, I'd put Whisper above him. I'm not impressed with this guy yet. Okay, looks like nobody's impressed with him, so that's good. Um, this should be decent. No, it doesn't actually inflict block active skills and inflicts a critical hit if they have that. This has a chance of placing block active skill. Oh, this does too. Okay, yeah, this one. Okay, I do remember this one as being an AOE block active. Okay, yes, I remember that. I think that's his main feature, right? Like this move right here is decent. I didn't even realize this one had it on it as well. I don't know if I've ever landed that. But yeah, he's just he doesn't really come in handy for me all that much. Maybe if I put him in a stun set or something with these 2 AOE's, maybe that'll make him more worthwhile for me. Because at least then he can stun people. But I don't. He's not doing much for me at the moment. So going forward, yeah, I might need more. I might need something else here. I don't even know if it's yet on my roster. So I have to see because even I'd like to replace Whisper as well, right? I don't know with who, but I feel like she's just like okay, like she's holding it down, she's doing her thing, but it's not phenomenal. Finally, down to the last batch here. It's going to be a very long video. Might have to edit this one quite a bit, maybe pull some stuff out. We'll see. New to all this, I didn't even edit my first video, and this might be the first time I try to edit something. For the dwarves, I actually have double Tholen, so that's what I'm using. I have 160 Tholen and 150 Tholen, so five star and 6 star Tholen. Using double Tholens, I have a Hilvi, I have a Granite, and Arnorn is I don't know if he's fully booked, but he's at 60. And that's kind of the squad I used to beat normal. Tholen and Granite have been MVPs. Helvey too. Helvey is what pushed me over the edge. When once I got her, that's when I beat it. So like as soon as I unlocked her, brought her to 60, finished faction wars pretty easily at that point. I think I was already on the boss, so that kind of helped push me over the top. Looking forward, is that everything I need? Actually, I really like this team. Arnoran, I'm kind of iffy on. 4.6. I mean, people like him. I was really iffy on him. I don't know if he's fully booked or not. I have to go check. So of course, with some of these that you're hearing me say, I'm not too impressed with them. It's a sort of a two-sided coin to that, right? I might not be very impressed because I haven't fully booked them, but at the same time, they weren't a priority for me to fully book because I wasn't that impressed with them. Right? So in some of these cases, that's kind of what it is. My books just went to other other champs that I was also using for faction wars that I just felt were more impressive, and so that's who I booked first. But regardless, this faction is done. There are other champs here that I would like. But looking forward, I actually like my core group of two Tholins, Granite, and Helvi. I actually like that core group. I don't think I need two Tholins though. If I could replace one of them, like I don't know, a Newt or I don't know about Newt. I hear great things about them, but I've never used them. Obviously, I don't have them, so I don't know. But like just in general, if I could replace Arnorn in one of my Tholins, I'd be pretty happy about that. And wow, two of my best alongside Barbarian. Barbarian and these two are like my best. So jumping into Shadowkin. So I got both of these mythicals during my first batch. So I will have a double Lady Mikage once I do her fusion. But I got both of these. I think they're my so Shira was my second, and then I got Lady Mikage and Mesomel in the same pull. I got both of them in a 10 pull. So phenomenal luck during that first 2x mythical event. That was insane. I wish I had that much luck every time. But obviously with that, these are both great mythicals. I'm sure everyone agrees. Yeah, yeah, and I feel like he's useful everywhere. So it looks like people agree. People agree. Um, both forms for her. Well, both forms for both of them are really good. I use both of them more in their primary form, less in their alt form, but they both are useful in their alt form for various things. Like Lady Mikage has an AoE stun and a sleep on her A1 and a lot of great things. But those two, Harima, I think if you take everything into account, like just the aesthetics. Let me look at this head. Just the aesthetics, the kit, and the stats and everything. She might be my favorite character that I have. We'll see if Cecilia changes that because I think Cecilia is great aesthetically and has a great kit as well. So we'll see how she actually performs. But when you take everything into account, I think Shadowkin overall, just aesthetically, Shadowkin is my favorite faction. But yeah, I just like everything about Arima. Like the aesthetics there, the kit is phenomenal. Um, like the provoke. This gives her a chance to also kick off the provoke, or if she kills someone, decrease attack. Like it's good. And then of course when you double that in with Lady Mikage, um, she follows up Lady Mikage quite a bit. It's usually her Toshiro. I know I kind of see that a lot. It's one of those two. I think it could be anybody from Shadowkin, but for whatever reason, it's one of those two, and I'm glad about it because those are the two bigger damage dealers. So I think that's the foundation of my team is those three, and they're all three of those are MVPs. So like this group is stacked. This faction. Leo is great as well, but he wasn't even part of it. I did 60 him. I 60'd all of my Ninja Turtles. Well, not Shredder, but April and the Four Turtles. I think Shredder's at 50 right now. I'll 60 him at some point just because he's part of the TMNT, and I loved that show growing up. But I didn't even have Leo at the time. I did this. I think I used those three And then I had Mikanaki, Corrado, and Arashi. I don't even remember which two I used. I don't think it mattered. They didn't have to do anything at all. To be honest, all they needed to do was just not die because I don't have a reviver. But between these three, they're doing so much damage. Well, I guess Lady Mikage is not doing a ton of damage, but she's constantly calling people for. She's got the team, right? The team assist, but then even on her A1, she's got usually one of these two assistants, or I guess could be anyone, but it's usually one of these two. There's so much damage coming out of them. Like nothing has a chance to kill anything, so I never needed a reviver. Even though now I got Yukamasa, so I will have a reviver as I move into hard mode. He's not 60 yet; he's 50 right now, but I will bring him up to 60. I do have Leo now. I could bring. I don't know if I. Well, I will eventually bring him to 60 because it's TMNT. I don't know if I'll actually use him for Faction Wars Hard. I don't know how handy he'll be there, but I do have a lot of great um, champs here. Like I don't even know what no build does. Like yeah, okay. I guess I'm not missing anything there. But like this is so deep. Like some damn. All right. Well, I'm not using the right characters. I can see. What about her? Oh, okay. That's good. I was just talking about I have no healer, so she doesn't revive. But yeah, she heals at least. But you know, I got Yukamasa, who I think has a revive. Pretty sure he has a revive somewhere. Yes, okay. Skill not killing that. You might as well analyze if the skill kills. Okay, so it can be a full team revive if it kills someone. So, you know, with him, you know, I'll bring him up to 60. I'll probably bring Riho up to 60. And then they'll go along with those three, or maybe Leo. I don't know if Leo pairs well with them. I know he does go with the other turtles, but I'll have him just in case, right? But I think I'm in a good place going forward for hard mode, or really any content with some of these guys. But with faction mode hardware, I think I'm in a good place here. I don't even need to think about my epics. It's probably some great ones here. I heard Taragi does a lot of great poisons and things, but you know, man, aesthetically, like this factions. I love this faction. Like it just looks great. every champion, almost every champion you click on. Not so much Taragi, but all the rest of them. Like even Taragi is kind of cool, right? He kind of looks like I don't know some sort of demon or something of some sort. You know, I feel like he should be in another faction because of that, but he does kind of look like he kind of fits in Shadowkin from that perspective. Yeah, but this, yeah, they just look great. Um, but yeah, I think I'm set with this faction. Probably even more so than Barbarians. You know, Barbarians is when I finished first. I think you know they're the most set. Sylvan Watchers I feel very similarly on. I don't have any of the mythicals here. And I hear like I think all three of those from what I hear are phenomenal. So it'd be great to have them. But I'm really happy with my legendaries. Um, you know, a few of these like I never even used Glycade or Budrag because I got them later, right? But I hear so many great things about them. Yeah, their ratings are high, but I hear a lot of great things about them. People say that they're phenomenal. Wow, he's got a 5 faction wars. But I had Elva, Lemonisi, Balar, Lady of Aerith, Aerith. How do you say that? Did I use an epic? I don't think I used an epic. Either King Galkobar or Kala. You know what? I think it was originally both, and then I got Elva. I pulled Elva at some point, and she replaced one of those. And then you know I was good. I was good at that point because Elva's like you know that's all I needed was like a reviver. She had the revive, so that put me over the top, and it was a wrap there. I feel very good about this squad going forward with these next two coming up. Although, hmm, restores HP, gives continuous heal. This guy do freeze. It's nice. Buff and a revive. You know, this might turn into another Lizard Man faction where there's just a whole bunch of heals and revives flowing around. I'm not. Maybe I'm not set with this, right? Because we have Elva. I think even this guy has a heal. Yeah, continuous heal. I don't know. Maybe I'm not set. That's a lot of healing going around. Maybe not enough damage. Lemonisi, and I'm rebuilding Lemonisi. She's one of the few characters I'm rebuilding. So I'm currently rebuilding her to solo Amius. So I don't know how useful she's gonna be in Faction Wars hard because she might not be geared correctly for that. So that would leave Balar as my only damage dealer. Who's this guy? Okay, not even gonna bother reading this kit. He's newer for me. I didn't usually. He's not super new, but like I got him after I was already done with Sylvan Watchers. So I don't know. Um, I feel like I have some really strong legendaries. I just don't know how well they work as a team comp. Now that I'm thinking about it, because both these guys heal and revive. She heals and revives. This guy has a heal. She's like I believe she places shields and heals. Yeah, continuous heals, and I think she placed the shield somewhere. Maybe not. Um, but a lot of healing and stuff going on, right? So, you know what? I might be thinking of Martyr as the shield person. Martyr might be the shield one. But yes, way too much healing. Now I think about it. So maybe I am missing something from my Sylvan Watcher lineup. Is it in my epics? Maybe I'll have to take a look and see. But I think going forward, I probably will be missing, one damage dealing, like devastatingly damage dealing uh, character. And Baylor might not, he won't cut it on his own. And I don't know how much I could rely on Lemonisi going forward. I don't recall, really, I don't recall him being all that good, to be honest. Killable. Okay, ignores unkillable block damage. I mean, it's nice. I just don't remember him doing all that well for me, though. This guy definitely wasn't all that great. He was decent. He had some nice heals and things coming through for me when I needed it with the continuous heal. But other than that, I didn't really find him all that great. So I don't know. I'm probably still missing another champ or two here, or they might be in my epics. But going forward for hard, I do like this squad, and I think they're really strong. The characters that I have, I just don't know if it's the right team composition. And then of course Argonauts. There's only one there, Cassandra. I'm gonna 60 her because she's the only legendary there so far. So I hear everyone clown on her a lot. She's not not all that great. Faction Wars 3.8. 3.8 isn't terrible, I guess. It's not good, but it's not terrible. But yeah, she's gonna be currently the only legendary and might be the only legendary I have for this group for quite some time. So I'm just gonna bring her to 60. And that is the review of my roster. Um, I my next video will likely be what I still want, what I'm hoping to pull in the future for some of these factions, especially the ones that I feel aren't ready, right? Like the Knights Revenant, the Ogryn tribes, even some of the ones that are in a good place, right? Like maybe my Bannerlords or Sacred Order or something, which are in more of a decent place. What I would like to pull from there. I think some of these are kind of sad, right? Barbarians and Shadowgun, I think are kind of sad. It's always going to be some that I could pull that would be nice, but I think for the most part, I'm pretty happy with those. Seven Watches, as just mentioned, I think they're phenomenal individually. Like I have a lot of phenomenal individual champs. See how well they pair, right? When I get to hard mode, if it's another Lizard Man situation where it's just constant healing, and that's all I can do is just try to out heal my opponent, just heal myself enough that I just outlast them. That might not be the best approach for faction wars hard. So I might need something else there. But I'll make that additional video with very specific champs soon. I got to go through each one of these factions and kind of get a sense of what's missing and who are the champs that are existing in the faction. All right, thanks for watching the video and checking in. And I look forward to shooting my next video.